刘培元的英文教室经典演说篇第119集我们在回顾第11到13就是美国总统罗斯福提出四大自由因为我们在11到13集早就讲过了所以我们这边只是整个念一遍你自己看一下，回顾一下那也可以当做听力练习你可以看着字幕然后听也可以纯粹训练听力不要看字幕眼睛闭起来或者看别的地方来听听看。好，我们来念一下 The four freedoms. Our national policy is thus: first, by impressive expression of public, when without regard to partisanship, we are committed to all-inclusive national defense. Second, by an impressive expression of the public, when without regard to partisanship, we are committed to full support of all those resolute peoples everywhere who are resisting aggression and are thereby keeping war away from our hemisphere. By to support, we express our determination that the democratic cause shall prevail, that will strengthen the defense and security of our own nation. Third, by impressive expression of public will and without regard to partisanship, we are committed to the proposition that principles of morality and considerations for our own security will never permit us to acquiesce in a peace dictated by aggressors and sponsored by appeasers. We know that enduring peace cannot be bought at the cost of other people's freedom. In the recent national election, there was no substantial difference between the two great parties in respect to national policy. That issue was fought out on this line before the American electorate. Today, it is abundantly evident that American citizens everywhere are demanding and supporting speedy and complete action in recognition of obvious danger. Therefore, the immediate need is a swift and driving increase in our armament production. Leaders of industry and labor have responded to our summons. Goals, speed have been set. In some cases, the goals have been reached ahead of time. In some cases, we're on schedule. In other cases, there are slight but not serious delays. And in some cases, and I'm sorry to say very important cases, we are all concerned by the slowness of the accomplishment of our plans. The Army and Navy, however, have made substantial progress during the past year. Actual experience is improving and speeding up our methods of production with every passing day. And today's best is not good enough for tomorrow. I'm not satisfied with the program thus far made. The men in charge of the program represent the best in training, in ability, and in patriotism. They are not satisfied with the program thus far made. None of us will be satisfied until the job is done. No matter whether the original goal was set too high or too low. Our objective is quicker and better results. To give you two illustrations. We're behind schedule in turning out finished airplanes. We're working day and night to solve the innumerable problems and to catch up. We're ahead of schedule in building warships, but we're working to get even further ahead of that schedule. To change a whole nation from a basis of peacetime production of implements of peace to a basis of wartime production of implements of war is no small task. And the greatest difficulty comes at the beginning of the program. with new tools, new plant facilities, new assembly lines, and new shipways must first be constructed before the actual material begins to flow steadily and speedily from them. The Congress, of course, must rightly keep itself informed at all times of progress of the program. However, there is certain information which the Congress itself will readily recognize, which in the interests of our own security and those of the nations that we are supporting must needs be kept in confidence. New circumstances are constantly begetting new needs for safety. I shall ask this Congress for greatly increased new appropriations and authorization to carry on what we have begun. I also ask this Congress for authority and for funds sufficient to manufacture additional munitions and war supplies of many kinds, to be turned over to those nations which are now in actual war with aggressive nations. Our most useful and immediate role is to act as an arsenal for them as well as for ourselves. They do not need manpower, but they do need billions of dollars worth of weapons of defense. The time is near when they will not be able to pay for them all in ready cash. We cannot and we will not tell them that they must surrender, merely because of present inability to pay for the weapons which we know they must have. I do not recommend that we make them alone the dollars with which to pay for these weapons, alone to be paid in dollars. I recommend that we make it possible for those nations to continue to obtain war materials in the United States, fitting their orders into our own program. Nearly all their material would, if the time ever can, be useful for our own defense. Taking counsel of the expert military and naval authorities, considering what is best for our own security, we are free to decide how much should be kept here and how much should be sent abroad to our friends who, by their determined and heroic resistance, are giving us time in which to make ready our own defense. For what we send abroad, we shall be repaid with a reasonable time following the close of hostilities, in similar materials or at our option, in other goods of many kinds, which they can produce and which we need. Let us say to the democracies, we Americans are vitally concerned in your defense of freedom. We are putting forth our energies, our resources, and our organizing powers to give you the strength to regain and maintain a free world. We shall send you in ever-increasing numbers, ships, planes, tanks, guns. This is our purpose and our pledge. In fulfillment of this purpose, we will not be intimidated by the threats of dictators that they will regard as a breach of international law or as an act of war or aid to democracies which dare to resist their aggression. Such aid is not an act of war, even if a dictator should unilaterally proclaim it so to be. If the dictators are ready to make war upon us, they will not wait for an act of war on our part. They did not wait for Norway or Belgium or the Netherlands to commit an act of war. Their only interest is in a new one-way international law, which lacks mutuality in its observance and therefore becomes an instrument of oppression. The happiness of future generations of Americans may well depend upon how effective and how immediate we can make our aid felt. No one can tell the exact character of the emergency situations that we may be called upon to meet. The nation's hands must not be tied when the nation's life is in danger. We must all prepare to make the sacrifices that the emergency, almost as serious as war itself, demands. Whatever stands in the way of speed and efficiency in defense preparations must give way to national need. A free nation has the right to expect for the cooperation from all groups. A free nation has the right to look to the leaders of business, of labor, and of agriculture to take the lead in stimulating effort, not among other groups, but within their own groups. The best way of dealing with the few slackers, the troublemakers in our midst is, first, to shame them by patriotic example, and if that fails, to use the sovereignty of government to save government. All men do not live by bread alone, they do not fight by armaments alone. Those men are defenses, and those behind them who build our defenses must have the stamina and the courage which come from unshakable belief in the manner of life which they are defending. The mighty action that we are calling for cannot be based on the disregard of all things worth fighting for. The nation takes great satisfaction and much strength from the things which have been done to make it people conscious of their individual stake in the preservation of democratic life in America. The things have toughened the fiber of our people, have renewed their faith and strengthened their devotion to the institutions we make ready to protect. Certainly there is no time for any of us to stop thinking about the social and economic problems which are the root cause of the social revolution which today is supreme factor in the world. But there is nothing mysterious about the foundations of a healthy and a strong democracy. The basic things expected by the people of their political and economic systems are simple. They are equality of opportunity for youth and for others, jobs for those who can work, security for those who need it, the ending of special privilege for the few, the preservation of civil liberties for all, the enjoyment of fruits of scientific progress in a wider and constantly rising standard of living. These are the simple, basic things that must never be lost sight of in the turmoil and unbelievable complexity of our modern world. The inner and abiding strength of our economic and political system is dependent upon the degree to which they fulfill these expectations. Many subjects connected with our social economy call for immediate improvement. As examples, we should bring more citizens under the coverage of old age pensions and employment insurance. We should widen the opportunities for adequate medical care. We should plan a better system by which persons deserving or needing gainful employment may obtain it. I've called for personal sacrifice. I'm assured of the willingness of almost Americans to respond to that call. A part of the sacrifice means the payment of more money in taxes. In my budget message, I shall recommend that a greater portion of this great defense program be paid from taxation than we are paying today. No person should try or be allowed to get rich out of this program. And the principle of the tax payment in accordance with the ability to pay should be constantly before our eyes to guide our legislation. If the Congress maintained these principles, the voters putting patriotism ahead of pocketbooks will give you their applause. In the future days which we seek to make secure, we look forward to a world founded upon our essential human freedoms. The first, the freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world. The second, freedom, every person to worship God in his own way everywhere in the world. The third, freedom from want, where translated into word terms, means economic understandings which was secured to every nation a healthy, peacetime life for its inhabitants everywhere in the world. The fourth is freedom from fear, which translated into word terms means a worldwide reduction of armaments to such a point and in such a thorough fashion that no nation will be in a position to commit an act of physical aggression against any neighbor everywhere in the world. That is no vision of a distant millennium. It is a definite basis for a kind of world attainable in our own time and generations. That kind of world is the very antithesis of the so-called New Order of tyranny, which the dictators seek to create with the crash of a bomb. To that new order we oppose the greater conception, the moral order. A good society is able to face schemes of world domination and foreign revolutions alike without fear. Since the beginning of our American history, we have been engaged in change in a perpetual peaceful revolution. A revolution which goes on steadily, quietly adjusting itself to changing conditions, without a concentration camp or the quick line in the ditch. The world order which we seek is the cooperation of free countries working together in a friendly, civilized society. This nation has placed its destiny in the hands and heads and hearts of its millions of free men and women, and this faith in freedom under the guidance of God. Freedom means the supremacy of human rights everywhere. Our support goes to those who struggle to gain those rights or keep them. Our strength in our unity of purpose to that high concept, there can be no end save victory. 所以这一篇你自己听看能听得懂多少。我现在有15个频道啊，如果你觉得我视频还不错的话15个都按订阅，像大部分还是只按一个可能很多人还是搞不清楚我15个频道，麻烦15个都按一下。好，这一集讲这里。